No way Rafa could play with 7 balls. That would be very uncomfortable.
Macron with Modi and with Abe, and that's got me thinking, I wonder how not just the whole summit is going to go with Putin, but that photo opportunity too. Guys?
There's one in which it looks like he's actually holding her fingers, not her hand, when they were on the steps of the Blenheim Palace.
Well, that's what I mean.
I agree
it is
with you.
awkward.
It's super weird.
I mean, I think we've got some video, I don't know if they can bring it up, that doesn't quite show the hand holding as clearly, but those walks, and it is very, very awkward indeed, and we watched all of it so closely the last couple of days, and it does kind of summarize things. Look, clearly the press conference went better than that Sun interview late last night, but overall it was pretty awkward and embarrassing, particularly those slight tones of undermining the Prime Minister from the
I don't
press.
know.
Guys?
I think it's very strategic hand-holding. Wilfred,
the highest level of special
takeaway.
Relationship, right?
Yes, the highest level of special
relationship. The highest level of special hand-holding.
Wilfred, great job.
Excellent
See you
work.
back in New York.
CNBC Meets Defining Values, brought to you by UOB Private Bank.
Jewelry is worn by celebrities around the world, but it's her charitable work that often takes center stage. I've come to Hong Kong to find out what drives Michelle Ong in her life, her career, and her philanthropy. Only on CNBC Meets Defining Values. Michelle Ong has built up one of the most acclaimed jewelry businesses in the world. Her bespoke designs are red carpet favorites amongst A-list stars including Glenn Close and Kate Winslet, and were also seen in the blockbuster film The Da Vinci Code. Named by Forbes magazine as a hero of philanthropy, Michelle has always been passionate about giving back. And in 2010, she launched the First Initiative Foundation, which has raised millions of dollars for cultural development, musical performances, and arts education in Hong Kong. Michelle, it's great to see you. We're overlooking Hong Kong, where you have a very successful jewelry business. But did you always know that that was what you wanted to get into? Because you studied sociology at the University of Toronto.
Yes, that's true. I never thought about, being a successful anything, actually. When I finished university studying sociology, I loved the subject. It's all about learn about people and social environment. But when I came back, I thought, is this really what the field that I wanted to get into? So I thought maybe I should explore a bit further what's out there. So it so happened that a family friend who was the first importer of diamonds in Hong Kong, and I thought, why not? So I became an apprentice as a family friend, and that's how I started. And I fell in love with the business, learned about stones. I found it so fascinating and here I am after 30 years.
Well, let me take you back now to the young Michelle when you were growing up here in Hong Kong. Both of your parents were in the medical field. What kind of values did they instill in you as a child growing up in that environment?
I think, to put it simply, try to do the best you could. I think that is the main thing. And passion, that's also a big thing. So even with my children, that's what I pass on to them. I will make sure that they do their basics up to a certain level, and then they have to find their passion. And if you are not happy with what you're doing, you can't be successful at anything.
And of course, you're known, and you say yourself that you're a perfectionist and you work very hard. But what were you like as a child?
I was a dreamer. And as a child, basically, really, I wasn't very ambitious or wanting to achieve whatever. I was just going with the flow actually, and I was always very sensitive to beautiful things, whether it's a painting, whether it's a piece of jewelry, and it's really very interesting that, you know, my parents thought of it as a bit odd because they're like medical people and scientists, and they got this dreamer on their hands. So luckily, they let me pursue whatever I wanted. So also this is one of the values they instill with me, is that, you know, let you have the freedom to explore.
Do you think having a mother working showed you the way? Because was it unusual for women to be working so hard and also raising a family at that time?
At that time, yes. I think at that time in her era, there were only 3 female gynecologists, and she was working very hard, but I saw how much satisfaction she got from it. So that was an inspiration for me.
And you said that when you finished your degree and you came back to Hong Kong, you weren't really sure what you wanted to do, but then you found your path.
Yes, and that's why I thought passion is really something that rules, you know, your life. I thought I could go into banking, and then I was also offered a job, you know, being a diamond wholesaler, and I thought this is something so far away from what I've been doing, or, you know, I have no exposure at all, so why not try it?
What were some of the early obstacles that you had to overcome at the beginning of the business?
I really started the old-fashioned way. My family friend and boss at that time thought that, you know, you have to really do the legwork. So at that time they were wholesalers, so I had to go around, you know, meeting people from the trade and all this, and they're usually, you know, old gentlemen. There were not a lot of women in the field. And I also went with a staff who was a guy, and it's very interesting. Wherever I went to meet with anybody, they never looked at me and never talked to me. They only talked to my colleague. So this is something interesting. I mean, it's only when you ask this question it came back to me, because I don't think it would happen now.
So really you were treated differently because you were a woman at that time?
I think so. It's not because they were not courteous. They just maybe, you know, not very comfortable. And there were not a lot of women in the field. And I was quite young at that time. So I think all this, you know, was the factor.
And that didn't stop you. What did that make you feel? Even more determined, you think, to succeed?
No, but it was okay, because finally it's, you know, knowledge, you know, that speaks itself. As long as you know your stuff, you know what you're talking about, you know what you're showing, so you slowly gain their respect.
And you weren't formally trained as a jewelry designer.
No.
But do you think that hindered you, or you've said it helped you?
It definitely helped me. At that time I thought, you know, I hadn't got any formal training, but that's why nothing is impossible. So in a way, you know, there's no boundaries. And I was there to experiment, I was there to try. So I don't want to put limit on what I do.
Coming up, Michelle Ong's creations adorn the red carpet.
I had so much fun with Kate Winslet's. Very, very lovely.
CNBC covers retail because it's about so much more than just shopping. 2/3 of the domestic economy is powered by consumer spending. You have to look at earnings reports. You have to talk to analysts. You count shopping bags when you're walking down the street. Black Friday may be smaller than it once was. Cyber Monday may be growing in importance, but they're both very significant. Black Friday online sales topping Adobe's even very bullish expectations. CNBC's focus is financial news and the economy. Retail plays a key part in both of those.
This week, the latest tracking threat on your phone that you can't turn off. How to protect your privacy. Plus, the decisions that could prevent you from getting the most from Social Security. On the Money, tomorrow on CNBC.
Welcome back to CNBC Meets Defining Values. Jewelry designer Michelle Ong has turned her passion into a successful business, coveted by everyone from the legendary Michael Jackson to numerous stars on the red carpet. Michelle Ong met her business partner Avi Nagar over 30 years ago. Their relationship has been crucial in allowing Michelle the freedom to create her high-end designs. Tell me about your business partner, because it was meeting him and working with him that allowed you to be free. So do you feel that was the turning point in the business?
When we met, we started to have this partnership. We had the same goals, we had the same vision. So he's a gem expert, and of course I know about gems, but you know, he does all the